And we are underway. Nothing but bragging rights on the line here as the three athletes start their first 100-foot handstand walk. 50 feet down and 50 feet back, has to be unbroken each time, and they will get a rep for every 10 feet. There are 82 total repetitions in this event, and right now it's Rich Froning in the lead. No shock there. Haley Adams is second, Dan Bailey's in third as they approach their first set of dumbbell snatches. 18 dumbbell snatches at 100 pounds for the men and 70 pounds for Haley Adams.
We spoke with Rich yesterday. I think he's already tested this a couple of times. So, you know, I think he kind of padded his stats a little bit here by leading off and doing this one that he's already tested and got a little bit more intel on the workout.
Rich moving at a pretty good clip through these first 18 dumbbell snatches. The scoring ribbon at the top of your screen provided by Throwdowns is Rich Froning on the left of that ribbon, which through 17 of the 82 total repetitions, now 18. Haley Adams has 16 down, and Dan Bailey at 16 as well, as the two of them trade second place. This is the event that the individuals will face tomorrow morning as they kick off their day of competition here at the Mayhen Classic. Froning still moving quickly here.
It's nice to see Haley really handling this dumbbell well. I mean, one of the things that really set her apart in making that transition was an increased strength. We saw that in the very first event at the CrossFit Games last year with the heavy snatch for the women, where she finished in the top 10. And I think that's something that she's really focused on over the last 2 years, and it shows.
Well, Rich Froning is done with those 18 reps, and now his second of 4 100-foot handstand walks. Again, 1 rep for every 10 feet that he traverses, and he has to be unbroken on each lap.
Talked about some of the keys here early on. You know, midline stability, shoulder stability. Those are two things that Rich has always traditionally excelled at. You look at something like the midline march that we did, where he had to handstand walk and an overhead walking lunge, things that Rich trains regularly. It's no surprise that it would come up in the programming here.
Haley Adams is now done and onto the handstand walk, and Dan Bailey has one final dumbbell squat snatch before he will get to work on his second handstand walk. As Froning chalks up, as Haley Adams is through the first half of her second handstand walk, 50 feet down and back, and now Froning getting to work on the 110-pound dumbbell, 14 repetitions through now 40 of those 82 total reps.
And every single one of those reps here really kind of, from here on out, kind of showcases the evolution of the sport. Back in 2012, we saw the heavy dumbbell show up for the first time. It was a 100-pound dumbbell power snatch. Everybody kind of scoffed at it because they thought it was a joke. And now not only are you seeing that dumbbell show up, you're seeing heavier dumbbells, and you're adding complexity to it in the squat snatch. And it's just really impressive to see that progression.
And I know Rich is done with the individual competition, but you watch this and you think, man, it would be really fun just to see him back at the games throwing down with everybody else on that individual side.
You know, I feel like Hawkeye in Avengers Endgame when Scarlett Johansson shows up and she's like, "Don't give me hope, don't give me hope," you know, because that's what Rich is doing here by kind of giving us a little bit of a teaser of what he can still do as an individual.
It only took 3 minutes into the event for us to get our first Marvel reference out there, so good job on that.
We're cooking with gas, Sean.
Rich Froning through 52 of the 82 total repetitions as he is getting set to start his third 100-foot handstand walk. Haley Adams sits in second with 43 of the 82 repetitions done, and Dan Bailey on the bottom left of your screen is in third. We will see the good dudes throwing down throughout the weekend here. Josh Bridges is here as well. He's going to step in for an event or two throughout the weekend. Rich will be doing some. Dan will be here as well. Always fun when we get to watch those guys compete, even though there's nothing on the line here for them.
Yeah, and it's kind of like a neat little twist, right, on a workout demo. You know, we're used to seeing a video package or something play out that's been pre-recorded, and we get to kind of see a live workout demo, not just with anybody, but some of the best in the sport, some legends in the sport, as well as some new faces like Haley Adams. We'll see some other athletes step in across the weekend. And it's a nice little personal twist that we're seeing on the competition.
Froning is now on his final set of dumbbell squat snatches as he adjusts that 120-pound dumbbell. 10 reps there for him, and then a final handstand walk up and back. So 20 scored reps remain now for Rich Froning. 82 total in this event.
keep an eye on the clock here. I mean, I guarantee you there's a couple of individual athletes here in the stands right now watching Rich do this, using this as kind of a benchmark to see where they can finish. Because even though he's a team athlete, he's still one of the best, you know, around fitness-wise.
Haley Adams is on her third handstand walk. And Dan Bailey getting set to close out his second set of dumbbell squat snatches. And he'll take off on his third handstand walk as Haley Adams makes the turn.
Doesn't it bring back a little bit of nostalgia there, seeing Rich and Dan back out on the competition?
And they had some great battles at
man.
that Central East Regional. And now Rich Froning on his fourth and final 100-foot handstand walk.
Rich getting a little bit of, I guess, revenge, if you will, in a dumbbell workout. I mentioned that 2012 regional workout. Dan actually beat Rich in that. Because if you remember, that was the year that we had Diane. And Dan actually took the overall lead in that dumbbell workout. So I think Rich is kind of setting him up here.
And look, let's be fair to Dan Bailey and Haley Adams. Rich Froning has probably tested this event, what, 10, 15 times?
Just today.
Exactly. The Froning is about done, so he gets across the finish line. He's got to hit his buzzer, and that will officially end his time. So Rich Froning at 6:26.18 seconds. Keep that time in mind as we watch the actual competition tomorrow. Be interesting to see where that would end up. As now Haley Adams on the right and Dan Bailey, who's not pictured right now, are on their final sets of dumbbell squat snatches. Dan Bailey is on the other end of the floor, actually. He's in the background as he will close out his third handstand walk.
I know this doesn't mean really anything for these athletes, but it's always interesting to watch how Haley Adams moves. One of the things that you talk to some of her coaches, Chris Hinshaw, one of the things they've really tried to focus on is movement quality. And maintaining it, especially as the dumbbell gets heavy, is super important, especially for a young athlete who's got a long career ahead of them.
Dan Bailey is done now with his third handstand walk, and he will get to work on that 120-pound dumbbell as Haley Adams is off on her final 100-foot handstand walk, 50 foot down and 50 feet back. Getting close to the 8-minute mark. Haley kicks down, one final turn before she will close out her event. Now Dan Bailey at 120 pounds.
And honestly, for Dan, just getting a rep here at this last dumbbell is a win for him. You look at what he's had to go through physically the last couple of years. He's had shoulder repair surgery. He tore his quadriceps tendon in one of his knees, and those are like both kind of key components of this particular movement.
And now Haley Adams is across, 8:17.50 seconds. And to get back to Dan Bailey, we watched him at the Filthy 150 where he PR'd his squat snatch in that competition. And I believe it was about 235, if not a little more than that. He's still recovering from a lot of those injuries, and he knows that this is going to be a long process to try and get back to where he once was as a competitor.
He actually snatched 260 there, which was impressive. But the other side of that was we saw Dan really struggle with the single-armed dumbbell overhead walking lunges there. And this is a very similar movement in terms of the demands on the shoulders and the hips and the knees, the things that we talked about. And I actually spoke with Dan before this event. He said, hey, for that last set of 10, be prepared for these to be power snatches.
And look, let's not forget, it wasn't that long ago where a 120-pound dumbbell in any competition would have seemed ridiculous.
Well, it's not just ridiculous. It didn't exist.
Right.
We've never seen the 120-pound dumbbell show up in competition like this. A 100-pound dumbbell seemed ridiculous.
Dan only has 2 reps left here. And now just one more for Dan Bailey and a final handstand walk. You talked about the shoulders in the midline to start this thing. How do you think he's feeling about this point of this event?
Well, I think the shoulders look pretty good, but another thing we haven't talked about is the wrist stability there too. Right now, I know Dan does a ton of strict shoulder work to kind of build the stability there, and it looked pretty good. Same with the knee. But towards the end there, you start to see the dumbbell twist and wobble a little bit.
First 50 feet are down, no problem for Dan Bailey, and he'll make the turn and head back home and close this exhibition out. And I do wonder what is going through the heads of some of the athletes who are competing for real here as they watch this play out in front of them.
I think a lot of them are kind of using Haley and Rich's performances as kind of the two ends of the measuring stick, right? Probably going to be aiming for somewhere in between, depending on what your flexibility and what your strengths are.
Dan Bailey is in. He will hit the buzzer to end his time. And the good dudes are all done. So Dan Bailey, 10:51.92 seconds. Rich Froning, who had the unfair advantage of having done this event
and programmed it
multiple times and programmed it.